Hi, I'm Tazzy G. Welcome to my channel. I am starting a series of short fiction stories. Today's story will be a scary story. Title: The Whispering Snow. In the heart of the Colorado Rockies, winter hit with a vengeance. Snowdrifts swallowed cars whole, and icy winds howled through the trees like wolves. The remote mountain lodge where Zoe was staying was completely cut off, the winding road leading up the mountain buried under 6 feet of snow. It was meant to be a quiet retreat, a chance to finish her novel in peace, but she was utterly alone, save for the oppressive silence of the forest outside. Or so she thought. The first night, Zoe noticed the whispers. Faint at first, like the sound of snow falling, they seemed to seep through the cracks of the old wooden lodge. She thought it was the wind, but then the whispers began to form words. "Help us." Zoe froze, her fingers hovering over her laptop keyboard. It was faint, so faint that she thought she might be imagining it. But then it came again, clearer this time, carried on the icy draft blowing in from the chimney. "Don't forget us." She jumped up and checked every door and window, but they were all locked. The snowstorm outside was relentless, and the thought of anyone being out there was impossible. Still, the whispers continued. The second night, the whispers turned into voices, multiple voices, overlapping in a chaotic symphony of desperation. Zoe barely slept, tossing and turning as they grew louder, closer. By dawn, her nerves were shot. She decided to investigate. Bundling herself in layers, she stepped out into the snow, following the faintest impression of footprints leading into the woods. They didn't belong to her, they were too small, like those of a child. As she trudged deeper into the forest, the voices grew louder. "You can help us set us free." The snow fell harder, but Zoe pressed on. Her breath came out in puffs, and her legs burned from wading through the drifts. The footprints led her to a clearing where a single wooden signpost jutted out of the snow, weathered and cracked. It read, "Lost Hollow, 1887. Zoe's heart hammered in her chest. She'd heard of Lost Hollow, a mining town that had been abandoned after an avalanche buried it over a century ago. Legend had it the townspeople had been trapped, freezing to death in their homes, their voices swallowed by the snow. As she stood there, the whispers surrounded her. She could feel them, cold, invisible hands brushing against her cheeks, tugging at her coat. "We're here. Under the snow. Dig." Zoe fell to her knees, clawing at the snow with bare hands despite the frostbite setting in. She dug until her fingers bled, unearthing fragments of wood, rusted tools, and bones. So many bones. And then she found it, a locket, pristine despite the years. Inside was a picture of a little girl, her face hauntingly familiar. It was Zoe. She staggered back, the voices now a deafening roar. "You left us. You forgot us." Flashes of memories she didn't recognize flooded her mind. Children playing in the snow, her own voice calling out, an avalanche roaring down the mountain. She wasn't just a visitor to this mountain. She was tied to it, to them. Somehow, she had escaped when the others hadn't. The last thing Zoe saw before the snow swallowed her was the little girl from the locket, standing in the clearing, smiling faintly. The storm raged for days. When the rescue team finally reached the lodge, they found no trace of Zoe. Only her laptop, still open, the cursor blinking at the end of a chilling line. The snow never forgets.